Thank you guys so much for doing this.
Yeah, of course,
I appreciate it. Right on. So this podcast is about your guys' journey in music and how you got to where you are now, starting FINKEL and everything. From there, are you guys married, by the way?
We are.
We
You are married. Amazing. Because my wife and I usually do this podcast together, but since COVID has hit, we have 2 kids, so it's been impossible to like.
Yeah, one has to be. Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, no worries.
So
Well, tell her hello for us.
We will. I mean, I will. That's. I thought that's awesome. So very cool.
Sure.
So we'll talk about your individual journeys and then how you met and starting the band. If that's cool.
Yeah,
sure.
Sounds great.
Right on. Jade, tell me, where did you grow up?
I grew up on Mackinac Island in Michigan. It's a 500-person island with no cars.
Whoa. No cars.
No cars. We had bicycles and horses and snowmobiles. And now I live in Los Angeles.
I was just going to say, I think you guys, that's crazy. But with that, did you ever learn to, like, when did you learn to drive?
Honestly, Brian, what taught me, it started raining no less. It was like a movie scene. He taught me when I was 22,
something like that,
in a parking lot out in the rain, teaching me how to parallel park.
That's amazing.
It took a while. In other words, it was really hard to get driving hours because you have to pay for a boat ticket, go over, you have to follow the boat schedule, which is very small, narrow amount of time, and you know it's hard to get those hours, man. I did it.
Gosh, yeah, wow. So 500 people are on this island that you live.
Yeah.
Were you there as well, Brian? Or are you?
No, I'm from a much more mundane part of the state of Michigan called Lance. It's capital area. I guess it's not super mundane. It's been pretty active this year during the political season, but I visited the island semi-frequently, probably once a year before knowing this one existed on there. And then I went, once we got together, I went years after, and it's a second home for sure.
Yeah.
Regular.
Is it kind of like a vacation? Like, is it something like I'm trying to picture this because like we're in Southern California, or you guys are too in LA. So like, is it like Catalina kind of like?
It is.
A little bit.
In the summer, there's a ton of tourists. It's a tourist destination.
Seasonal.
Known for fudge, known for history. And then the winter's really slow and soft and quiet.
Very cool. Well, what about music? A music scene? Is there like a lot of, I don't know, bars and stuff around, that tourist attractions that you could play at?
Yeah, that's actually where Brian and I were playing our first gigs. We played some at the college that we went to. That's where we met. We met at Albion College.
Yep, in Michigan.
Okay. And then we would work up on the island in the summer and play after work. We would play these 3-hour bar gigs
about 4 times a week. It was where we definitely cut our teeth and probably learned a lot.
Learned a lot about getting the attention of drunk people, which is valuable.
In the middle of their like fettuccine alfredo, it's really hard to grab their attention at that moment.
No, that carbonara looks great.
Yeah,
look over here.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, how did you get into playing music, Jane? Like, how did that start?
My family plays a lot of music. I would sing at the piano with my mom, and I was in the school plays, things like that.
The FINKEL side's very musical. I'd say,
we have a history of music, which is wonderful. And the first time I actually really started playing music was on my 18th birthday, I got a lottery card and I won $100. So
wow.
I bought a ukulele.
That's
and
awesome.
That was what I played in the gigs. We used to be a folk band, and I played ukulele.
Oh, wow. Okay. And did you always write songs though, like prior to getting to the ukulele, or is that when your music career kind of really started?
I was always writing. I was always half writing songs.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
And Brian was really the element that shored up the other end of those songs. He was like, okay, eyes over here. My song was the carbonara. And Brian would say, okay, eyes over here.
Right
on. All right, Brian, so tell me about where you grew up. You said a bigger city, obviously.
Yeah, so Lansing, Michigan. I grew up kind of embedded in athletic communities. I ended up going to college to play football, where
wow.
I met, and we both joined up in an acapella group together. And so that's kind of how this whole thing got going, was through a college acapella group. And then that traveled to the island, that being Jane and I, once we decided to start playing music together. And I haven't done athletics since college, but still love them.
Yeah. Wow. Well, acapella groups. So were you in chorus or choir or anything like that growing up?
Growing up, yeah, I wanted to do more plays. I definitely had more of a creative attraction, or an attraction to the creative arts. But I played sports year round, and I loved playing them, so I didn't really have an interest in dropping any of those to be able to substitute in like theater or choir or something like that. So I ended up being a part of a couple choirs in high school, in and out of high school, and then really it was college where I kind of took music and tried to make it my own thing. And I picked up the guitar kind of like any, cheesy rom-com, to pick up that one. And
really?
It worked.
It ended up working, and it ended up being a career path. So.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, now keep it coming.
Right.
Whoa,
Yeah, we
okay.
started writing together, and yeah, now we're here, I guess.
Right, 10 years later.
Right.
So no bands, nothing like that in high school, just all sports.
All sports. I've always loved music, but at the time it just didn't have a big calling to me as big as sports did, and there's a lot of parallels between the two, the creative arts and the athletic world. And so I find it fascinating from a psychological perspective, from like an adrenaline perspective, when you're performing on the stage or performing on the field or whatever it is. And anyway, there's a ton of really good synchronicities between the two.
Yeah, all form of, some sort of entertainment for people.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's amazing. Well, was there like a point, like what made you stop pursuing the football career to become a musician? That's kind of, I don't know. I want to hear that story.
For sure. So I guess it forced my hand. I played Division III college, so I wasn't going to take it further than college unless I wanted to do some sort of minor or pro ball type of thing.
Sure.
So really, I didn't think that my body would be happy if I continued to play a sport that was as brutal as football after the age of 25.
What position did you play, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, no worries. I was a wide receiver.
Oh, rad. Cool.
Yeah. So to that point, I also am not the fastest wide receiver that ever lived. And so I didn't really have the speed to be able to put myself in a position to be in the NFL or CFL or anything like that. But
you did a great job. You did a fantastic job.
Yeah, you must have been really good if you got, you're playing at college level.
I had a great,
you broke some records, just saying.
I had a great career, and I was able to get a good education from it too, which is a rarity in collegiate athletics. So I had a great career, but it was mainly my hands, my speed did not do me any favors.
Mm-hmm. With college, so did you go on a scholarship for football?
Kind of, yeah.
Kinda? Okay.
College doesn't really work that way. They try and help out because it's a D3 school, so they don't have the capital to be able to give out like athletic full ride scholarships. It's more so packaged into an academic box.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. And then when did Jane join your life and the music career start?
So we both were in this acapella group, and I suppose it all started when if you're in the group, you have the role of judging people that are trying to get into the group. And Jane was trying out for the group. I was judging. I had no business judging. I had really only done athletics up until that point.
Were you in the group at this point?
I did. I got in. I was with another human at the time, and she also tried out. We both tried out together. She didn't make the group.
But she said she would only try out if he tried out.
Yeah, so I kind of got
and then
brought into it. Yeah, and then anyway, it
looks like it worked out.
It worked out great. Yeah, it worked out great.
Okay, so you were in. Yeah, so you were in the group, and then Jane was joining the group, and so
I was tasked the role to judge her abilities to be in the group.
And you said yes.
And I said yes. Probably didn't even hear her sing, to be quite honest. I probably just said yes immediately. But
okay, so you're in this group, and then where were you guys playing? Where like the acapella group? You said, were you going to the island that you lived at and performing there?
Well, we did 2 performances a year at the college, and then we did some competitions.
Yeah.
It wasn't as far as a cappella groups go, it wasn't as serious as I think some of them are. It was basically a collegiate drinking club where we sang, and it was fantastic. And then it led us.
We were pretty good though. I thought we were pretty good.
I mean, I thought we were pretty good, but it was, you know, we weren't touring the country with our act.
No.
Okay. And so while you guys, you know, were getting to know each other in this group, is that when you started writing music together? Like, how did that begin?
We kind of tried to write some originals while we were in college. They were like anybody starting out writing originals. We were just kind of trying to get our feet wet into that whole thing. And
just rhyming time.
We did do a couple different like cover mashup things that kind of got us thinking about compositions that have already been created and manipulating them to fit together. And so we did a little bit of that. And
we started with a lot of covers. We asked one of the only bars in town if we could play music there, and they said yes. And so we had to figure out some music to play. And then we started learning covers, and we had a band called Me and My Friends, because different friends would come up whenever they felt like it. And then Brian went and got an audio engineering degree in Nashville. He's a year older than me. So while I was finishing up school, he went and got an audio engineering degree at the Dark Horse Institute in Nashville.
Wow.
And we had some free recording time, you know, free after he did the
graduate.
program.
After you pay for the program.
Yes.
Time.
And so we had to write some original music. So that was during the summers we were working on Mackinac Island. We would waitress and bartend, do these 3 or 4 hour music gigs, and then at night we would go home and write music until, you know, whatever hour. And that is the motivation and the endurance of 18-year-olds is astounding.
Right? I know, it's insane.
I think back and I'm like, oi, 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 good for you guys.
Brian, what took you to Nashville? Did you finish? You finished college and then were like, you know, I'm really interested in this music thing. Let's take it a step further.
I probably put my parents through it in that respect. I was on a track to be a GA at a college, to try and go into sports administration.
Okay.
And then the second semester of the final year that I was there, I had come into a leadership role within the a cappella group. I found music to be a lot more fulfilling from like an emotional perspective than sports. I think I was getting burnt out. It had been like since I was 7, 6 that I had been playing sports. So I kind of, I guess, felt like I needed a change. And
your dad sent me a text earlier this week that told me that you used to, as a 3-year-old, throw a ball up and catch it with one hand.
Right. So
I feel like that is when it started.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Dad with the fun facts.
Yeah, dad with the fun facts. So on the second semester of that year, I kind of wanted to follow more of my gut and practice that notion, and did so, and looked at some programs. I didn't know what I wanted to do in music. I just knew that I wanted to be around it. And I think it was probably like a Facebook ad or something that popped up about the
wow.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think so. And I think I clicked on it, or this might have all happened with my mom trying to help me find stuff to do post-college. And I went down to Nashville after getting into this Dark Horse Institute, and it was more of a certification. I wouldn't call it a degree. I think I could have spent a lot more time there to like get, you know, what would be the equivalent of a degree, but it was only a 4-month program. And if you've worked with Pro Tools before, 4 months is not enough time to be able to call yourself a master at that. So,
but at least you got some
yeah, definitely. And while I was there, I took as many meetings as I could, and I lied about being a Belmont student to meet with some Sony representatives so I could learn more about the industry. And I tried to make my time worthwhile. And then we had wrote a record the year before I went to Nashville that summer, and I kind of just worked on the plan to get that out, and we ended up booking a 3.5 month long tour in the fall.
It was our first tour.
Wow.
In the fall of 2014, all self-booked and marketed and promoted, and did that.
And this record was what you guys recorded with the time that you had in Nashville?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Exactly. So that was kind of like our introduction into the music industry. We kind of just threw ourselves into the belly of the beast without really knowing what the hell we were doing.
Sure.
It ends up, you learn a lot. You learn a ton during those times, but
the music industry is such a wacky beast. You just kind of have to jump in your own way.
Changes all the time.
And if you have a positive attitude and a sense of adventure, it seems to help.
Great.
Sure.
Perfectly put.
Well, tell me about booking this tour. So you finished the record. Was that difficult and different? I mean, had you both ever recorded in a studio like that before?
I had just from the certification, and getting that getting that time down there. I think, if we were to do it all over again now, we'd have a whole different playbook to go into this with. But it was a lot of trial and error. It's figuring out. We brought in a classmate of mine from that program to engineer it. So it wasn't just I wasn't just solely the engineer as well as the performer. I wanted to get somebody else's ear on it. So that was kind of, I guess, the first time that we collaborated on a creative perspective with putting a record together, and it was a great time. It was like a week-long process, and we ended up getting 5 songs done. And for doing it all on our own, I definitely think of that record fondly. Is it good? Do I think it's good? It remains to be seen. But, it was a great time.
Did you scrub it from the internet? Because I'm not seeing it on Spotify.
No, it was a different project. It's on the internet still, because we ended up on this long tour. We ended up having a really great opportunity with some other friends that I met at that program.
Okay.
And they were doing a lot of YouTube videos. It was back when you could be a YouTube musician pretty easily, or not easily, I shouldn't say easily, but it was happening a lot more readily.
Right.
And so they were doing these videos and cover songs, and we did a mashup with them that caught some fire under the name Less Is More, which is our old band name. And that's what brought us out to LA, was this cover tune mashup that blew up, and I think is now sitting at around like 66 million streams or something at the moment.
I know what.
Oh
you never know. You never know.
So let's get to that point. Okay, wow. So Less Is More is the band that was touring, putting out the record in Nashville.
Yeah. You
book yourself a 3.5 week or 3.5 month tour. Like yourself.
55 dates or something like that.
And how did you manage to do that? That's crazy by yourself. Did you just go out by yourselves too? It was just, all right, the two of us, we're gonna do.
We got our car. We bought a trailer. I had my Subaru Forester, 2008 Subaru Forester, and we put a hitch on it and bought a 4x7 trailer and threw a bunch of gear in the background, and we invited some friends to document it.
Two friends, Brittany and Alex Carmona Holt, and I mean, the trend that we seem to always do is like, it'd be really fun,
kind of crazy,
and then we're like, okay, it's a deal, and then we just kind of hit the ground running and figure it out along the way. Brian did an incredible job with booking this first tour, and in the same breath, we were just figuring it out. I mean, it was our first time having a venue say, we're not going to pay you, or showing up and there is no venue. And
did that happen quite a bit? Or they were like, we forgot there's a show tonight. Or
I had one really strange one where it was a promoter in New Orleans, and and they, at the time, as Jane said, we were folk music, so we were doing a little bit more cafes. There's more venues for that kind of genre, I think, to be able to sit in and do like singer-songwriter stuff versus the electronic style thing that we're doing now.
Sure.
But so I booked a show at this cafe in New Orleans, and we pull up with the car and start unloading.
And it's a 2-hour drive from where we're staying.
Yeah, because this is the first time I've been to Louisiana, and I got us a spot in Lafayette for a gig in New Orleans, and you know, again, the things that you do when you're just jumping into it, you could probably avoid that 2-hour drive every other time. But so yeah, we end up getting to this cafe, and the barista is like, you know, what's going on? Can I get you a coffee? We're like, we're actually playing here. She's like, really? We haven't had music here in 2 years. And I was like, well, who was I talking? I had some promoter saying that they had great foot traffic and it was a great scene and that they were putting up flyers, and then it just never ended up happening. So it was very confusing, perplexing. But again, you learn to see what emails and promoters and people are better to engage with. They're more worth your time.
Who's more legit?
Right.
So the barista said, well, if you want, I'll give you a cup of coffee and you can go into the attic. Mm-hmm. And if anybody wanders into the attic, you can play music for them.
Oh, wow. Did anyone wander?
We had one and they left.
They left mid-song. Yeah.
You know,
they're the stories that I'm excited to write about as I get older.
Right.
Yeah.
It was fun, and we were volunteering in each state too. We were trying to figure out where we wanted to move after because I had just graduated. He was graduated for a year, and we didn't want to stay in Michigan, but we were unsure of where we wanted to go. And that was when we toured through Los Angeles and realized that it was an amazing, wild, perfect world for us at this time. And so we actually ended up moving to Kalamazoo, Michigan for 2 years in preparation because we knew we weren't ready for that yet. And that's when we had our band that really ended up crafting what FINKEL is today, with a man named Michael Gard. He just goes by Sword though. And who plays the drums, and Matthew Milo, who
was our
plays
bassist
the bass.
And then a producer named Bill Skibby, who's a guy over at Third Band now.
Yeah, we had no business getting in with Bill Skibby, but our friend Sword said, I have these 2 singers, and
you should meet them.
And you should meet them. So we got to go in with him, and he told us he told us that we were not ready for, basically, in so many words, he said, so do you like your music? And we had to think about it, and we didn't so much like our music.
At the time. We wouldn't listen to it if we were passive listeners. Yeah.
I suppose I'm making him sound harsher than he was. He's one of those fantastically frank people. And
you kind of need those people though, you're right.
Oh, he was a gift.
Truly.
He was a gift
for any sort of growth, you need somebody to be a little harsher. Yeah.
Right.
And so then we started doing intense writing workshops that happened on a weekly and bi-weekly basis, where we would have some parameters that would be something like a BPM and an emotion or a color or a scene or a phrase, or it just kept on getting more avant-garde from there. And we'd all have to have composed a song by the time that a week was done, or 2 weeks. And then we would all just chop up the songs, and it really helped us have no attachment to any one part of like, oh, that's my synth part. And unless you really, that it was more fighting for the actual, the overall piece and not for individualism. And then that was how we figured out the sound that we have now.
Oh, wow. And this was all after that collaborated that song that blew up, or this is still pre?
Yeah, well, the song ended up blowing up. We went on this tour in 2014. It started really picking up steam at the end of 2014 and into 2015, and we played around as less is more from 2015 to 2017 with this 4-piece that Jane was referencing, and then in 2018 we just saved all of the capital that we were able to in Kalamazoo through our music and through the help of this mashup song that did well. And we moved out to LA.
And a barista gig and working at a venue.
Yeah, all sorts, all of the other hustles for sure. Yeah,
unfortunately, and
then
that song was not our main bread and butter, but
then we moved to LA in 2018.
Okay. So with that, but tell me about the success of that song, because I'm curious. Just like that must have been pretty exciting, and whoa, like this song to see millions upon millions of views. And to grow up in a town of 500 people and then having your song get 61 million plays, that's pretty phenomenal. Like, tell me about seeing that growth.
Yeah, sure.
It definitely legitimized our to other people. It legitimized our efforts in music when we were basically just starting off, and also gave us the confidence to really continue. We were going to do that anyways, but it's nice when when people have a specific number to hang a hat on, because that's something that's difficult in the music industry, is some way to show that validity. You are really trying or really working on something. And it's funny that it's the thing that we didn't write, that the YouTube video, I'm truly in my socks outside, and it's not a glamorous shot. It just is what it is. It was just friends hanging out and making something. And if that is what helps people quantify, I guess, worth, then that's great for them.
It was,
and it was helpful for us too. And then the community was like, "Wow, you're doing it!"
Yeah. Right. It was a lot of fun though to see, what it could be like and what it can continue to be like. And so, of course, we've been chasing our own version of, validity in that sense with FINKEL, and it's been doing, so well, and thankfully so. And but of course, that 66 million thing is always a pie in the sky type of thing to go after. And so now that we've had a taste of it, we want to keep seeing it, but not for the sake of numbers, for the sake of seeing the impact of what music can do to a community like that. That's more so, I guess, what we're chasing.
Right, for sure. But I can imagine it would still be pretty exciting to see something.
For sure, from a vanity perspective, we loved it.
It's very cool.
It was like I said, it had to be cool.
Yeah.
Oh, it currently is cool, and it's coming from such a small community. It feels like every member is so important to the success of the community, and I like to boost that place up as much as I can in any way that I can. And if it's through music, that is so cool.
Yeah. And then, so that kind of, but did that attract attention of like, is that how you guys met, like the sword guy, or like, is that what kind of helped open a little bit of the doors for you guys to
certainly
get in these writing rooms?
Yeah. Sword was more of a kindred spirit that we ended up meeting up with, but he
was enticed by the numbers, I will say that.
Sure, but I think Bill was more so.
He was a closed character before that.
Yeah, okay. I feel like Bill was more so the person that really was interested based off of the numbers game. But I'm sorry, I forgot.
We drop it here or there when it's relevant.
Yeah.
I was wondering if the number helped. Like, how did you meet these producers and get into these writing rooms?
So it definitely helped. It helped early on, and it helped book shows. After that, we could certainly use that as a leverage point for a lot of different shows that we were putting together, and probably played some rooms that we shouldn't have. We played Lincoln Hall in Chicago, which is a 750 capacity space, and at the time, we shouldn't have probably played that room, but again, that number was so big, it's hard to say no when it's waved in front of you. So it's definitely opened a lot of opportunities for us, and we've been very grateful for them, for sure.
For sure. So FINKEL started after you guys moved to LA then? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So
yeah.
In trying to go in that more electronic realm, because you said you were a singer, more of a folk group prior. What was the first like song that you wrote, like that was you're like, okay, this is the FINKEL song. This is the sound we're going for. This is the, electronic sound we're going for.
I think
we didn't really have any. Well, we knew that we were working towards something when we were Less is More, and there was conversation of it being a new name. But all of the things that we were working on as Less is More worked their way eventually to being a FINKEL sound. I don't really remember there being one song that we were like, okay, this
FINKEL
is totally a new thing.
Yeah. But we launched the project with a song called Without, which we wrote with the Less is More gang. And that one, and Kind of Day, which features Sword and Need, and a couple, like some of the earlier catalog. A lot of the 2018 songs were songs that were, shaped in that time period or with those people that got us out here. And then everything post 2018 has kind of been what we've taken from our experiences from these various points in life and have channeled them into this new sound.
I think Backpack of Snacks, our first EP, is truly the FINKEL sound.
I was gonna ask, because you were talking about the song titles are like colors, and was that part of what you guys were talking about earlier with writing? And you said like you guys had come up with like a topic, and then tell me a little bit more about that. Was that part of Backpack of Snacks?
You are really good at drawing things together. Nancy Drew, man. we
Sorry.
That's fantastic.
That's the hope. That's the hope, is that people can catch on to that.
And next time I have a mystery to solve, I'll know the first person to call.
Yes. I'm a part-time detective.
Yeah.
It's a great job.
Yeah.
So when we moved out to Los Angeles, I was feeling excited and spunky, and not in Michigan where I just felt like I could do anything. And I started getting the idea that I really wanted to wear colored lenses. And I said that to Brian, and he said, oh, well, if we both wore colored lenses in one color at a time for about a month each, we could live in them and we could see how it could alter our perception, and we could write music in it. And I was like, damn, okay, that sounds like a way better idea than what I had. And so that's what we did when we first moved here. And that's, each of the songs are written in those colors. And we'd have the lenses on from when we woke up to when we went to sleep, except for working out, because it was just a nightmare. But we didn't think about a lot of side effects of that, of like being the couple that's always showing up in glasses. But obviously, we don't care about that anymore.
Right. Hey.
Yeah.
And now it's an image. Well, that's crazy. So tell me, was there side effects? So like, what happened after you took the glasses off? After seeing pink, you said for a whole month or a week?
A month.
We tried to demo out a song a person per month in the same color, and did it for about 6 months, and put together this record.
So what was the strangest color to have on, like throughout the course of the month?
Well, it kind of, so there's two factors enter in here. Is one is the comfort of the actual glasses on the head. Which we're still independent working musicians, and so we don't have the best budgets or the brand partnerships to be like, Warby Parker, what's good? Come on over here. We got some questions for you. It's more it's more like, where can you find the most cost effective pair of glasses? And so sometimes the frames don't fit as well. So if it didn't fit as well, that certainly added to an ornery mood. Wouldn't want to have them on. The colors though, like it certainly varied. I think we both experienced different likes and dislikes. I liked blue, I think, quite a bit. It seemed to be even though the song itself is a little bit attitude driven, it was kind of like a catharsis and calmed my attitude down and kind of dumping all of these things onto a page for what Ready ends up being. And Pink, though, we got sweet tooths.
Yeah,
we ate a lot more sweets.
Really?
Yeah, that was a fun. I loved Pink. Pink was my favorite. Pink made me feel fun and free, and like I wanted to eat sweets and have a great time.
Yeah,
but
that's fascinating. I wonder if there's like any studies of this done where
we found out.
Really?
Yeah, the color theory is a lot of people are experimenting with it in various formats and stuff, and I don't know about the sonic space necessarily. It just seemed like a fun idea for us to do.
But
So
but having, I mean, that's really fascinating. What was the colors that had the bad frames?
Green,
blue.
Blue.
And blue for you. Okay. And do you feel that those songs?
That's where the attitude came from.
Well,
Blue
figured it out.
Yeah. Blue was my eventual demise with the project because my pair of glasses were so uncomfortable. I have a pretty small head, but these were really tiny, and they were pressing into my temples, and I would wake up with headaches, and I would put them back on, and I was eventually like, for
the sake of art,
what am I doing? I'm a crazy person right now. I mean, it kind of ended itself for me, where I was like, okay, I've done it for nearly 6 months. Yeah. I think I've cashed in my chips. I'm done. I'm done here.
So blue is the last color that you guys did.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. I wasn't sure if you went in the order of the record as well.
No, okay. No, that would have been fun.
Right on. So from Backpacks and Snacks, you have a few new singles out now. I did watch the video for Bleach Vial, which is rad. I love the shields, and the total COVID shields, and then just going down the street, and then I love when the music changes to that like
more hard,
sonically changes, and then like the animations just get super dark, and then it comes back, and you guys are back on the or skateboards, I think, and cruising down the street. Was that a video that you had to come up with and shoot during COVID, or like how was COVID affecting you guys as far as musically and creatively?
You want to take it?
We
can jump in later.
Sure. we started writing a ton of music when COVID hit, because we went from having very busy lives in Los Angeles, constantly doing something, to just being at home and just being the two of us. So we cracked some beers and wrote a ton of music. And this came out right in the beginning. And that's what all of this new music is. And we're going to be releasing an album with it in December.
Wow.
Thanks.
So Bleach Vial and like Long Summer, those are all songs that you guys wrote and put out during COVID. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So Bleach Vial came from the president's remarks about injecting oneself with
bleach.
Oh, for the yes.
Yeah. And so we were so thrown by that notion, and I think that song kind of just spilled out pretty fluidly. Like lyrically, it was a very easy song to write, because it was kind of just looking out the window or looking at the news and being like, well, okay, all right, there's another thing that we can write about. So
that harmony and that we're like, oh, that is nasty. We have got to put that in a song.
So, and then Long Summer came from a friend of ours who's also a creative out here. He's a really talented script writer, and he and I talked quite a bit during the pandemic, and he texted me. He was having kind of like a depressive bout, And he was like, man, it's going to be a long summer. And he spelled it out with like 5 O's. And it was around June or May or something when he texted me that. And I don't even think I texted him back like a great friend that I am. I think I just
feeling that night title.
Yeah, it was like, I think I like yelled into wherever Janie was, like, Janie, we got a song to write. So anyway.
Oh my gosh. So what about recording them and everything done with the audio engineering degree?
Yeah, well, not all of it. Thankfully, we've had a lot of, over the last, several years, we've been developing quite a small but powerful team of creatives, whether it's like graphic designers or producers or what have you. And so we have a couple people that we go to for to take our demoed songs and kind of be like, okay, we need our
bass fatter.
We need to figure out some stuff that we don't have the specs for here in our apartment. So we worked with this guy Zach Schwartz, who goes by LMNOP out here in LA, and he's helped with a couple songs now, Jaywalk from 2019 and then Long Summer. And then Bleach Vial was done with a guy named Bobby Bloomfield, who was part of this thing called the Rattle, which is a London-based collective that we've joined up with and have been a part of since November last year.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, that's, we've had help. We look to our community all the time because it certainly is, I think, a through line in who we are. We lean into our friends and family.
And that's something I learn increasingly as I and both we are expanding our education on all of the different elements of what it takes to be musicians at the level that we would like to be, which means that I am not the best mixer in terms of all the people that I know, that I have to trust and look outside of myself for that, while still expanding my own knowledge.
Yeah,
for sure. And with how many songs you guys write during the pandemic and record?
Yeah, well, it's gonna. We wrote a bunch. Not
I
all
honestly
of them are on
have
the
no
record.
clue.
Yeah,
I
really?
No clue.
I think. Boy.
I mean, it's been almost 8 months now.
I know. I was wondering if you had like a whole body of work ready and you're like, okay, well, you said you have a record coming out on the 20th, right?
Yeah. So not all the songs that we wrote.
They're not all from this quarantine.
No, they are.
They are. Oh, okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, but just not all of them made the cut. We had quite a lot that were really good, but just we didn't.
Or bad.
Or bad. Yeah. So we're gonna have 4 songs on the album, an instrumental that was actually written pre-COVID, but we've been utilizing it, and it makes sense for this this season that we're all in. So
sure.
An instrumental, 4 songs, and then 3 skits. We're taking the college dropout Kanye model and putting it to practice.
Really? Tell me about the skits. Was that just something you like? Was it between the two of you? What do the skits entail?
I'll leave a little. I think we should leave a little bit to the imagination for when it comes out. But
they happened naturally.
And they're all in voicemail format. So that's what we can kind of.
I like that. That's
awesome.
We're
in the era of voicemail.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time to chat with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us on, Adam. It's been a lot of fun.
For having us.
Good conversation.
Yeah, I do have one more question. I want to see if I can get advice from each of you. I want to know if you have any for aspiring artists.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I think mine would probably, without like being so specific about anything, I think it really just depends on will and effort. You have to just persevere through all of the learning moments and all of the happy moments and not be too up or too down, and just kind of keep your sights on the big picture. And if the big picture is you being a musician and playing music for a living, then just focus on that, and things will fall into place.
Yeah.
Love it.
Mine, I'm going to borrow some advice from my grandmother that she gave to me that has truly changed my life and pertains to music as well. And that is to look at your life like an adventure, because there are ups and there are downs, and but thinking of it and framing up it in the way that it is an adventure makes it feel magical when things go right, and when things go wrong, it's just a small bump, and it's just to keep the listeners reading. And wait a second, the listeners listening.
There you go.
The readers reading.
There you go.
Anyways. Yeah, that would be my advice. And just have fun with it. It's a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic thing to do.
Follow the fun.